he not coming. But we're grateful today to have Mr. Odinga Kambui here. Want to talk with him. A lot of things that we've discussed with Mr. Akintunde Funzo and Mr. Marvin Crenshaw. They were saying that you was the guy that really needs to kind of fill in the gaps. And so we thought it was a must to absolutely speak with you. And, just personally, myself and my comrades here, Talisa and Quinn, and others, may have a question or two. And so obviously we just want to give them an opportunity to ask it. So if I may ask, where you from originally?
Como. It's a historical black community in Fort Worth.
Okay.
Just west of downtown. And my parents separated when I was about 11 months old. And single mom and I wound up in Dallas, Bunton. And prior to me starting school at just Thompson, my mother came up with, which now is a brilliant idea, to avoid me being a latchkey child. She took me to live with my maternal grandparents in Grant Parish, Louisiana, which the parish seat is Colfax, which has significance, to say the least. Even trumps Tulsa and Rosewood in terms of significance.
Right.
It's the site of the Colfax Massacre. It happened in 1873. And so I was there for completing the first grade. My grandfather passed June when school was out, and we moved 10 miles down the road to a town called Boyce, which sits right on Interstate 49 between, if you travel from Shreveport to Alexandria, this is about 15 minutes before you get to Alexandria, the exit, and you immediately cross over Red River, and 10 miles down the road, you're in Colfax.
Wow.
And that's very historic. And so we can get into that later, but that's the connection with that. And so I was there first grade. So from second grade through the seventh grade, I was in Boyce. In fact, the previous mayor of Boyce is my first cousin. And so eighth grade, I was back in Dallas and living right across the street from H.S. Thompson. So at that time, Lincoln had the eighth grade. So from eighth grade through the 12th is when I was, in that Lincoln.
Gotcha. So you are, in my estimation, you have been known for at least to me, to be a historian and a kind of what you would call a person that's keeper of the records, at least in my opinion. I guess my question to you is, what kind of got you more active in the movement? Like what happened? What sparked you to like saying that this is something that I'm willing to dedicate my life and service to?
Well, really what grounded me is by being in Louisiana, because what you probably see historically in all the documentaries, I had a chance to view it firsthand. Like, my first grade year was the last year that my youngest uncle and them sharecropped, because I was living with grandparents on a plantation. They were sharecroppers.
Right.
And so I was in first grade. My youngest uncle was a senior in high school. And that was the last year that he picked cotton. So I recollect vividly. Well, of course, the next uncle is a year older than him. So the both of them, with their cotton sacks, allowed me to ride on them. I just thought that was the darndest thing. It was like in a child's mind, you're figuring, I can't wait to have my own cotton sack.
Right.
And so seeing it up close and personal, it's like, wow. Then when we moved into town, it's the usual, all of the black folks on this side of the track, all the white folks over there on the town side of the track. So you got to go to the store, post office, doctor's office. It was a few white people that had moved, from outside of well, before they built Interstate 49 from Shreveport to Alexandria, the only two routes between Shreveport and Alexandria was Highway 1 and Highway 71. Highway 1 ran straight through Boyce. And so that was the highway really separated, black boys from white boys. And so, post office, any of that, you had to go across town. In fact, very similar incidents could have happened easily in Boyce that you read about with Emmett Till. Anytime you would go over there. And so a lot of that, as time went on, you saw all of the trappings and the little shuns and nigga, you go across town, nigga, that kind of a thing.
Right.
And so that kind of built up over the years. But nobody even ever discussed, explained any of that, what that meant. You just thought that was all normal.
Interesting. So in Dallas, well, let me ask you this question. Before you joined the Black Panther Party, were you active in any organization, or was that the
Black Student Union El Centro?
Tell us about the Black Student Union.
Well, prior to leaving Lincoln, gradually, because of the background in Louisiana, I realized, observing a lot of my schoolmates that wasn't privy and had experienced any of this, I could definitely tell the difference, in terms of the way they reacted to certain things, like civics class that they didn't seem to be interested in. So I remember the first time I saw anything about Malcolm X was my civic teacher had a Jet magazine on his desk, and when he went out of class one day, I went up and looked at it, so stuff like that. But he never explained it to any of the students, though, what that was about. So as time went on, I think about the 11th grade or so, about the time SNCC was pretty active in South Dallas. And I remember one day sitting in class looking out the window, because I was on the second floor, and this was where classes was. And I saw Ernie and several SNCC members walking across the campus, afros, blue jean jackets. And keep in mind, none of us were wearing afros back in the day. In fact, if you look at my 1969 Lincoln yearbook, it's only me and one other person got afro.
Wow.
Anything close to resembling one. And so Ernie and them, I thought that was just fascinating to me. That what is that about? And folks, then of course learning later on, Ernie and them got the incident up on Pine in Oakland, where the rotten meat is being sold in the grocery store.
Okay, supermarket.
They went and tossed some of that out, and that's how Ernie got his case. And so stuff like that is, went on. This kind of. So by the time I got out of high school and went to El Centro, just so happened that folks that were a little older than me down there involved in a lot of the Black liberation activity. So I joined the Black Student Union, and because we were controversial to where we couldn't meet on campus, so by meeting off campus, that exposed us to a lot of more stuff. Like one of the older brothers, Charles Turner, he had Malcolm X albums and stuff like that, we could listen to. And that really kind of expedited my whole learning process. So from that point on, there was just I had already, in fact, while I was still in high school, I had stopped standing up, saluting the flag at assemblies and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So I was already on that path anyway. So it's just a matter of, this just enhanced it. And so getting exposed to Malcolm and reading autobiography, and of course, the draft was still in effect at the time. Mm-hmm. But before I got to high school, I had already determined I was not going in the military. I didn't know how I was going to avoid prison, but I was going to try and think of something. Mm-hmm. So by reading Malcolm's autobiography, that kind of set me in motion of how to avoid it, legally. And that was perfect timing. So that's kind of how that kind of spun out from there. But yeah, the Black Student Union thing was the grounding.
At El Centro.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
At El
so we proceeded, we were the Soul Students Advisory, we call ourselves Soul, Student Organization for Unified Liberation.
Student Organization for Unified Liberation.
So what came later was skipping over BSPI, Black Students for Positive something.
Intercommunal Party?
No, it was BSPI. I know the initials. I just forgot what they stand for.
Okay, gotcha.
So that was a couple of years after us. But so yeah, that really was grounded me. So it just became a matter of trying to juxtapose.
What year was that at El Centro?
Fall of '69.
Fall of
to
'69.
Spring of '70.
Okay.
And basically, after a while, about the second semester, I just saw El Centro as a 13th grade of high school.
It was 13. That's funny. So, I've known you over the years to have great information in regards to the Black liberation movement. Tons of information over the years. So, if you can just let us know, how did you run across, or how did you go about joining the Black Panther Party, and then how did you eventually come a part of the Dallas area.
Okay. Well, keep in mind, nationally, internationally, at the time this was going on, you got a hotbed of war all around the country, anti-war movement, protests, demonstrations, and it's like, how do we get involved in this? It's what we kind of searching for. And as opposed to cultural nationalist folks who weren't about nothing political, we were able to distinguish that early on. So one time somebody came through the school and he had a tape announcing it's gonna be a rally in Chicago on June the 8th, and it's when they were bringing Bobby Seale to be tried separately because they had severed his case from the Chicago 8.
Right.
So their trial had already ended. So the federal government was going to try him that first Monday in June 1970. So that was perfect timing. Since I knew about that far enough in advance, well, it was like in the middle of the winter, so I had like about 5 or 6 months to plan on this. So I just started, campaigning. I got to get to Chicago. I need to look for a summer job. So that was my pretext of being able to get a one-way ticket, up there. And so I had been planning that for like 5 or 6 months.
Okay.
After I heard of Fred Hampton's assassination, because I had never heard of Black Panther Party. It's like 3 years old when I first heard about it on the news, passing in front of the TV screen one evening, hearing the news where a Panther was killed in Chicago. And I didn't really know what that was about, and so looking into it further, I thought, I definitely got to get to Chicago this summer. And it just so happened that first week of school out, catch the first thing smoking. Little did I know the bus would take 30 hours one way.
Was that the summer of 70?
Spring of 70.
Spring of 70, okay.
So I was up there all that summer.
Okay.
And so this is like just 6 months after Fred Hampton, December 69 to June 70.
Wow.
So like Fred Jr. is only like 6 months old when I get there.
Okay.
So all the people that went to Fred Hampton's apartment that were wounded, they were all in political education classes every Saturday with me.
Right.
So Doc's sitting there, he's showing me
Doc South.
Yeah, he's showing me the wound where he got wounded in the side from the gunshot wounds. All them folks. In fact, Blair Anderson, I just saw him at the reunion out in Oakland. All them years where these folks have been. China Doll, and show you how small the world is. Kurt Mitchell, who was here bishop, they married Vivian Johnson, who eventually married Don Johnson, who was Block Partnership. Kurt, baby's sister, was a bosom buddy with China Doll in Chicago, and they lived in Harvey, Illinois, just south suburban. Well, the public transportation you catch out there is known as South Suburban. That's where the Dales are from, the legendary Dales.
Right.
So Kurt was shocked how I was able to find his place out in the south suburb, and so couldn't find out, his sister being bosom buddy with China Doll, and so all them folks, Beverlina, Blair Anderson, all them folks that were in the apartment, I ran into. Well, you had to, because in order to be in the party, you had to attend political education classes. Right. That's what I knew when I got back here in the fall, that they had already collapsed what they were supposed to be doing with the NCCF, because they weren't even holding political education classes. That didn't start till I started them. Because when I asked about because when I was over there one day, because I told you I saw them downtown, so I said, well, where's the office at? They said it was over on Pennsylvania 2nd. So when I went over to the office, I'm like, when's the political education classes? Well, we don't have none. So it's like, well, why don't you do it? That's always the comeback, the caveat. So they couldn't have done it anyway because they didn't have the newspapers.
Right.
You had to have the pound newspapers to do the classes. And so since I was getting the papers, the class became me. So if I wouldn't have to do the classes, they wouldn't be having any classes. So I look back on that was just hilarity. And in fact, most people attending the class, on the few occasions that Curtis and Red Dog and people would come and drop in, when they leave, the folks be asking, who is that?
So okay, so for y'all for y'all to just trying to figure out. So what we're trying to do here is try to get him to fill in some of the gaps. And one of my questions has always been about Curtis Gaines. Now I know that there's a video on YouTube. It shows a snippet of him giving an interview through SMU. SMU, who's got the video, I think it's Jim Jones or some guy that does it. But anyway, there's a little snippet of him giving an interview talking about the Dallas chapter. So if you could kind of describe, at least from your perspective, who Curtis Gaines was in terms of his organizing experience that you know of, and how was it to interact with him? Because to me he's sort of kind of been a mystery guy. I mean, you see the one video, and then you hear other folks talk about what the incident or whatever. So if you could fill us in on who Curtis Gaines was as somebody who actually dealt with him.
Well, I do know he has a slick background with Ernie and Fahim and all of them. Matthew Johnson. Now, other than our Black Student Union meetings on off campus, that's where we met at his apartment. But he was always kind of like aloof.
Where was his apartment at?
Right across from Oliver and the Homes.
Right across the street from Oliver.
Yeah, where Geronimo was captured.
Right, and at the apartment, right across the street from Oliver Wendell Homes,
the apartments
is where Geronimo G. Jagger Pratt.
Where the library is right now.
Where the library is at, that we passed by. That's where Geronimo G. Jagger Pratt was captured.
With Melvin Cotton Smith, the snitch from L.A.
Melvin Cotton Smith. And if you do history on the Los Angeles chapter of the Black Panther Party, Melvin Cotton Smith is a name that comes up often as somebody that wasn't informed.
But G never let him out of his sight.
Okay.
I always thought it was kind of comical.
Okay.
And so I figured he kind of suspected all along, something with that. So yeah, that's basically it. And
he was aloof.
yeah, I mean, other than we would go on Sunday. Yeah, it was on Sunday. We had the classes. Rarely ever saw him because he like the office. I maybe went about office 3 times the whole time it existed, from the fall till February of '71. Because like I say, when the folks would be asking me, well, who's that? I said, well, he's supposed to be over the NCCF. But yeah, so we wasn't running it. We had the P class. It wouldn't have existed.
So essentially, what you're stating is you went to Chicago, and you experienced the political education, kind of with the Chicago Black Panther Party. Experienced just a few months after the assassination of Chairman Fred that took place on December 4th, 1969. Right. You went there, experienced the political education. Because of that, you come back to Dallas. You locate the NCCF, which is under, correct me if I'm wrong, under the leadership of Curtis Gaines. And from that, you begin to institute or attempt to institute a political education system based on your experiences with the newspapers and what you've seen in Chicago.
Oh, definitely. We want to keep what I saw there here. But keep in mind, too, I was trying to tie this in with the whole Chicago thing. Because, see, by me getting there in June, most of all the programs you hear about with the Panther Party, the Free Breakfast Program and all that kind of stuff, that's going on doing while school is going on. Okay. So by school being out, a lot of the activity they were doing wasn't happening then. So by me just being available to do the political education classes and the newspaper distribution, for the most part, that was it. And since you weren't part of really the inner circle, you just really, matter of fact, one day I was waiting on Slick to come down from upstairs with some stuff I had ordered, rush, and folks were wanting to know why I was, lingering in the lobby. Since I knew, Slick, that kind of dealt with that. But I see John Wallace had rushed with Eric Michaels on the show, and I had to kind of, refresh on some stuff. Right. And so yeah, it wasn't like a lot of the hectic, the medical program and the breakfast program, all that stuff going. That wasn't happening in June. The school was out. Right. And so it kind of freed me up. I was holding down 2 jobs while I was dealing with that.
What did y'all mainly sell your newspapers at?
Man, I know brothers, sisters. They would go downtown Chicago. They'd drop 500 newspapers like in a day. I mean, it was like
dedication.
It was like, hey, but I would pretty much be in the neighborhood. Where I was on the west side, and I would just pretty much be on the neighborhood. Now, a lot of documentaries you may have seen where when King was in Cicero doing the protest thing, right, and they would hit him upside the head with a brick. If you're on West Cermak and you go maybe like 7-8 blocks past the 200 block, you're in Cicero, but there's no sign. Ain't no relative telling me that's Cicero, Illinois, right there.
Don't go over there. Yeah.
So I'm just like, hey, I thought that was real. Yeah. Plus, the disciples were on the west side.
Okay.
And it looked like anybody else to me. So all that gang stuff they talked about, the South Side folks, El Rukin and all them, I couldn't make any distinction from them. And besides, my uncle had a TV radio repair shop on the South Side, right across the street from Black Peace Stone Nation headquarters. And they never messed with his children.
Right.
So that kind of blew that illusion thing out of the water for me. And so I was among the folks all the time between the South Side and the West Side.
So you saying in your opinion you never saw any major issues with Jeff Fort as far as that?
I never met him. I think he may have been caught up in the mix of the whole legal thing at the time.
Okay.
I don't know if he was in Chicago. He may have been in Chicago during that summer months.
Okay.
But documentaries I've seen over years, I don't recall ever seeing him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so people I've talked to, kind of know a little bit. I think I met some of the relatives of his.
So in terms of your experiences in Chicago, you're saying that folks was downtown Chicago selling papers, working real hard, pushing. Correct me if I'm wrong. You called it more so pushing the party line. He was really pushing the party line in downtown Chicago. In terms of Dallas development, was there any particular locations in Dallas that you guys identified? Like, for example,
It was just me.
Okay, it was just you.
Yeah.
Okay, where was you selling the papers?
Lancaster Ski Shopping Center. I was selling all the papers in on Saturday.
Were you familiar with that time? Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe Muhammad Ali at one time. I saw a video where Muhammad Ali came to Dallas, and I believe he was in that parking lot. Do you regular?
I don't remember he was over at the mosque on Forest.
I know you keep looking back.
Right. Okay.
Sometimes
So you sold the party papers in that parking lot during that time.
I was right there in front of Woolco and right there in front of the store.
Right there where we go to. Do what was the reception of the community here in Oak Cliff at that time as far as the Black Panther Party newspaper?
Oh, I mean, it was never a time I came back with any papers.
Okay. How many papers do you think you sold a day?
Oh, but I think I was like getting close to 100 or so, about 100.
Okay. No, that's pretty good.
Around what time period is this?
The fall of 71.
71.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cause I lived right down off of I lived on the corner of Hudspeth and Ramona.
Okay.
So I just would walk down.
So you would walk down. Outside of you selling the paper, and I know you did.
Well, let's get back.
Go ahead.
Just selling the paper wasn't a bed of roses now. Getting the papers was the challenge.
Explain that. Please explain that.
Okay. Of course, at the time, the paper sabotage and a lot of chapters would get a shipment of papers in, bone, soaking wet. So to avoid that, what I would have to do is get them to ship the papers to Brandon Air Freight. I had to go pick them up at Love Field every week on the bus. And that way, if anything happened to them, we would have a record of tracing them. So that was just, I had to get up early enough to go to Love Field, get the papers, come back home, then walk down to Lancaster Keys. So that pretty much consumed my whole day.
That was your day. How long? At that time, on the bus to Love Field.
Minimum of an hour at least from Oak Cliff to downtown.
Okay.
So, yeah.
That's not too bad. That's
When you think, you didn't give it a thought.
right. Okay, that's not too bad.
Because the urgency thing, it was like, plus I couldn't wait to see what's going to be in the paper this week.
Right. So what were you all selling the paper for? How much did the paper cost?
Oh, it was always, 25 cents?
25 cents.
Yeah, we kept a dime.
Kept a dime.
But before I would sell a paper, I would read it. So I would go home when I came back from the airport.
Wow.
Because a lot of people over here, I realized, probably even during the Fahim era, a lot of people, I saw this in Chicago or something too. That was one of the reasons for the political education class. People would be able to sell the papers, they had no clue what's in it. So somebody asked them a question, they're just like, why you got here? So that was really something we had to address. But yeah, I had to make sure that was taken care of. And
So let me ask you this question, and you can just kind of be as straightforward as you want. This is your perspective. did you notice any particular differences in dealing with the NCCF versus in the? You just correct me if I'm wrong. From your understanding, from the Fahim Minka era, which I believe started in 1973. Was there any differences?
But I was never around.
Okay,
to
you wasn't
observe.
around. You wasn't around.
I just knew. I knew Charles Hillman,
Okay.
Crenshaw, and folks, and but to be over there observing any activity.
Okay, so
The only thing I worked on with Fahim one time
okay,
was when Bobby Seale had a speaking engagement at Lubbock, Texas Tech.
and that's why I heard Mr. Crenshaw talk about. Tell us if you could tell us about that, because that's not.
It was just a one-time thing. I got out of work, rented a car, drove to Lubbock, put me on security, and
Right.
drove back and turned the car in. I was back to work the next morning.
What was the speaking engagement at?
Texas Tech.
At the school.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were at the school, and you was part of the security detail for Bobby Seale.
Got there just in time. For his phone.
Just made it just in time. Okay.
That was back in the day when you had to worry about nodding off and
Right.
now I think about that now. Please, I wouldn't dare to attempt to try to love and be back the same night. Please.
So I'm gonna ask you about this, and just so if you could hold it up a little bit, could you explain kind of what's going on in that photo?
Okay. Yeah. Basically, this is I think this is 25th anniversary of the party, and we had. I'm not sure we had anybody in here speaking, but yeah, maybe David Hilliard we had here over at I think South Dallas Cultural Center. And interestingly enough, you don't see Fahim or you don't see Hillman or Crenshaw, and even subsequent gatherings at Black Images, they weren't there either. And so
Who is this here?
Fahim, Charlie Powell, slave name Charlie Powell, Khalif Hassan.
Yeah, and that's interesting. You know the funny thing about it, and I tell the kids out this all the time. See, I met Khalif Hassan or Charlie Powell as an older man, and he didn't have this weight here. So it's interesting to see him, and he had this weight. And of course, this is you here, right?
Yeah.
And this is Don Lister, and this is Skip Shockley. Correct me if I'm wrong. And who's this on the end?
Leroy Haynes.
And that's Dr. Haynes.
Rev Leroy.
Reverend Leroy.
Who at one time, if you ever saw the TV program on Channel 8 on Sunday, Black Horizons, Dr. Brenda Wall, he was married to Dr. Brenda Wall.
Gotcha. So tell us what you know, because what you know about Dr. Haynes as far as his
come up from Beaumont. I'm not sure he had been involved in SNCC, but most of us that were in the Black Student Union, he pretty much was the person that had the background and being involved in the struggle and whatnot, and he pretty much coordinated the Black Student Union.
Okay.
But see, my whole thing was the whole rebel thing. With my background, had already disassociated myself with the whole religion thing.
Right.
I could easily separate, even with the Malcolm X, I was easily able to separate Malcolm the nationalist from Malcolm the Muslim.
Right.
And so yeah, I had no problem with that. And so yeah, that's still ongoing now today.
Right.
So yeah, but all of like the memorabilia and the visuals and all of the original stuff, I don't know anybody else that even has it. Even when I was in Oakland, nobody had it. Because I even took some stuff up there and put it on display at the reunion.
Right.
And a lot of that stuff just went by the wayside. And it was in the paper, the last page of the Panther newspaper every week, had where you could order all the materials, and you're really not talking about any kind of money at all. I mean, what, like 50 cents, a quarter, the pamphlets. And I guess people that may have had them, they just kind of got away from them. But yeah, that was interesting. That luckily I've been able to hold on to a lot of the visual stuff. But we can eventually get into the whole connection with Kwanzaa and pork chop nationalists and all them good old folks.
Okay, yeah. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that.
I'll find that thing later on the list of stuff you can order. Is there a CD player here?
No, I don't think we have a CD.
Okay, because I got have you ever heard Elaine Brown's album?
No, I have never.
Oh, it Seize the Time? Oh yeah, that's nice.
I ain't never heard it.
And one of the the party had a singing group called the Lumpin'.
The Lumpin', okay, yep.
One of the Lumpin' slave named James Mott.
Mm-hmm.
He used to be a background singer with Marvin Gaye.
Okay.
He has the legacy thing in Oakland now. You probably may have seen it on.
I've seen photos of the Lumpin'.
Okay, well, the current contemporary now in downtown Oakland, they have an office where it's the Black Panther Party legacy, and which is different from the thing that Huey's wife has with the museum.
Okay.
So that's two different locations. So all that's downtown Oakland now. And so yeah, in fact, I got a picture here somewhere with James Mott, Charlie Paul, Erica, and me when I was out there in '73 with Bobby's campaign.
Okay.
And Elaine.
You went, so you went out to Oakland in 1973 to help with Bobby Seale's campaign.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about it, if you just what you can.
Okay, well, just basically, I was going with one of the twins out of Arlington Park, and she and her sister, we decided to drive out. Well, Bobby had spoken at SMU.
Okay.
And that really got them fired up. So, yeah, we should be in a problem now. So, it just so happened, Bobby was really on tour with speaking engagements, touting the upcoming campaign and everything. They did a whole page on him in Time Magazine. And so the timing was just perfect. And Annie's sister's car was fairly new. And so they had relatives in L.A. So we went to L.A. first and spent the night there and went on up to the Berry. And we were there for a couple of days working on the campaign. They put us to work on the campaign. And Charlie Paul was out there at the time. And so that was our inroads to, folks, not like we would be strangers or anything. And so we made all of the rounds in Oakland, went up to Marin, to the courthouse.
Where Jonathan Jackson.
Went to the parking lot, and of course, in '73, the black population in Marin County was like less than 3%.
Wow.
So for Jonathan Jackson in a trench coat in August to be up there, I mean, just amazed me how he didn't arouse any suspicion. But again, we know now, the FBI and all them folks, they knew about it in advance anyway. If you've seen the book, The Glass House Tapes, Tackwood, yeah, they knew in advance. In fact, state troopers out the parking lot hid out behind cars.
Wow.
They just let him go on into the courthouse without stopping him.
Wow.
Are these the civil rights twins?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So yeah.
He was talking about these.
Nana, I think it's Nana's daughter is Dawn McGee. And she's been wanting to do a documentary on Sundiata, one of the Panther 21, who died not too long ago.
So let me ask you this question. You just correct me if I'm historically